Can you put it back?
I'm ready to peek out so they can see me.
There you go. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Sunday with Sonia. Hi. Hola. We're going to do kale chips today. This is going to be so yummy. Welcome. I can't see everybody, but welcome. Hi. So excited to see everybody. Okay, so if you have friends that you want them to know some healthy ways of eating, you can swipe your screen, and I'm sorry I'm sideways for you, but we needed a long area so that we can show you all these pieces today. So just swipe your screen. You can share this scope with your followers. And if you like our Sundays with Sonia, you can just keep your finger tapped right on the screen. It'll keep giving us hearts. Really easy to do while you're watching. And we will get started here. So I'm so excited to do the Sundays with Sonia. Last week, so I've almost been preparing for this for a week because we made kale chips last week. And then we went around and got all the ingredients to make them again so we could have them here for you. So I'm very excited to make these kale chips. When we're done, this is what they're going to end up looking like. And I will tell you why I keep them in a jar. But these are this is what our goal is today. This little kale chip right here. It looks very yummy, green, and healthy, doesn't it? Hi from Huntsville, Texas. Woohoo! All right, so this looks yummy and green, and it's actually, I don't know if you can hear. Oh, wait, hang on. Ellie, would you hand me my microphone down there?
Yeah.
So I'll get my microphone so I'm a little bit louder. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, wait, this?
Here. There we go. Okay. So, let's get this microphone on so I can be a little louder. I actually bought an extension cord on Amazon so that I could have this over there. Is that a little bit better? Maybe a little bit louder. And I won't have to yell and talk so loud, right? So this kale chip, I don't know if you can hear it. Hear how crunchy that is? So in our search to stay healthy, sometimes it's hard to stay away from things like potato chips, which we all love, and those salty, crunchy things, right? So kale chips are a great, healthy alternative to potato chips. And we're going to show you how good and healthy you can make these. Very, very yummy. All right. So I'm going to put this up back here. And I'm going to show you some different types of kale. So there's a couple different types of kale you can get at the store. This is curly kale right here, and you have the green variety, right? And then you have this kind of purplish variety, which is very colorful and fun. Now, they both taste about the same, and when you dehydrate them, which we're going to talk about today, they actually end up all green. I don't know why. I don't know what happens to the purple, but it does go away, and it does look all green when you dehydrate them. Now, there's another type of kale that you're going to see in the store, and this is called flat kale. So this is what this looks like, right? And you can actually do kale chips with any of these kales. So you can use the curly kale. If you want to get colorful, you can use the little purple kale, and then you can certainly use the flat leaf. What I like best is I like the curly kales, and I'll tell you why. Because we're going to put some spices and nuts and things on these, or some seeds rather, not nuts. And so that they stick a little bit better in the little internal things here. Now, you would think kale is one of those things that you usually see on a salad bar, right? It's stuck around the salad to make everything look green and pretty because it stays green for so long. But kale is one of a very, very nutrient-dense food. So have any of you guys made your own kale chips before? You can post on there what your favorite flavor of kale chip is. Now, you may have seen kale chips in the store like this. This is a little container of kale chips. And you'll notice the difference between the look of these kale chips. So these ones, still green, right, which is okay, but kind of more brown. And these are not quite as crunchy. Of course, I could put them in the oven and make them a little more crunchy. But you might have bought kale chips like this. I'm telling you, these that you're going to make are 100 times better. All right, perfect timing, right? She said just got kale from the co-op. This is perfect timing to make kale chips. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the kale off of the stem. This is the back of the kale. And what we don't want is the stem because it's a little tart, right? So we're just going to take off pieces, whatever size piece you want to fit in your mouth. Now realize if you have a big piece like this, it is going to shrink down in the dehydrator. So don't worry about your pieces being too big. You're just going to rip the pieces off of the stem and put them right into your bowl, okay? So when you're done, you are going to have, doesn't take very long, it's really fast. And when you're done, you can just take all of your stems, throw them in the compost, right? There they go, they're in the compost. We can return those to the earth, and you will have a bowl of this yummy kale right here. So I found this recipe, I have to tell you, I found this recipe a couple of years ago when I was trying all different brands of kale chips, and this one brand of kale chip, I fell in love with this kale chip. And so I actually wrote down the recipe and tried to make it myself, because after that I couldn't find that company's kale chips anymore. So thank goodness I did, and I will read you what we're going to put in here. And then when we post this, either on my page or up on Facebook, we will post this recipe with it. But this recipe just has kale. We're going to put in some sprouted sunflower seeds, sprouted sesame seeds, which you do not have to add yourself if you don't want. We're going to have some lime juice, cumin powder, cayenne powder, sea salt, onion powder, and chili powder. And we're going to do all of these organic. So, of course, if you can, please be sure and get organic kale, because kale is sprayed. The leafy greens are sprayed because they do get a lot of cabbage moths that really like the kale. So they get those little wormies. All right, I'm so excited. So we've got our kale put here right here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to mix our spices. So we're going to take equal amounts of chili powder. And you can do as much or little of this spice as you like. So I just say, okay, I'm going to take, say, 2 tablespoons of chili powder, and then I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of onion powder. And I really love chili powder and lime. I don't know why, but that's one of my very favorite things to do. And then we're going to do cumin. Oh, isn't cumin just this phenomenal, savory spice? I used to be a sweet girl, but I've kind of turned into a savory girl. So we're going to do just equal parts of this and some sea salt here. Now you can do, my favorite is to do Celtic sea salt or Himalayan sea salt that's ground. I'm not into grinding my own because that's too much work, and I don't want to say I'm lazy, but I'd rather do it the work smarter, not harder, right? So I do the Celtic sea salt already ground. We're going to put a couple of teaspoons of that in our little bowl here. And then we're just going to mix that up. How easy. Now, if you like, you can take a little bit of cayenne pepper and mix it in here. And depending on how hot you like it, you don't have to put any cayenne pepper in at all. I probably put in, 3 or 4 shakes of cayenne pepper to a bowl this size, right? Because you don't need a whole lot here. So you just mix that up with your spoon. Now you've got this lovely aroma. I can smell the cumin mostly in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix this with some seeds. So, are you ready? So I have here some organic sesame seeds. Now, I did not sprout these. And what sprouting is when you sprout seeds, you soak them and dehydrate them. These particular sesame seeds, I did not sprout. So these have not been soaked and dehydrated. But I put some of these in just a coffee grinder. So this is the little coffee grinder that we're going to use. And I've already done the sesame seeds so we can save time. So if you can see how those are ground, maybe not with the light. And then I'm going to grind these for you, with you, because I want you to see how little you need to grind them. Otherwise, they're going to turn into powder. And you do want them to have a little bit of consistency here. Maybe you can see that. You want them to be something like that, maybe a little more powdery, right? So I'm just going to show you how long to do this. That's about enough. Maybe one little more, right? So that wasn't long at all. You could do that also in a food processor. So you're going to get bigger chunks and smaller chunks in here, and that's okay, because the bigger chunks and the smaller chunks, they're going to stick on the kale, and they're going to have a nice nutty flavor if you want. Now what you do with this, remember I just took 2 teaspoons of each of this, and again, you just want to spice it to your taste. So if you don't want as much spice, you don't have to put as much spice. But I'm just going to mix this spice right in, right on top of what I did with the seeds here, right? And we're just going to stir this around a little bit. This is going to be lovely. So these sunflower seeds I did I did soak and dehydrate. I love to do that with all of my nuts, and particularly when I'm doing sunflower seeds, I like to soak and dehydrate them. And when I dehydrate them, I just put a little bit of all-season salt on them. Makes them really lovely snack. Okay, so we're all mixed up here. Now you think, okay, well, how are we going to get this to stick on the kale, right? So this is what we're going to do. A couple little other health tips for you. We're going to take some olive oil. This is cold-pressed, organic, extra virgin olive oil. That's a mouthful, isn't it? And what I have done to this olive oil, and I recommend that you can do as well, is I have taken one of these little astaxanthin. I know, that's hard to say, so I'm going to put it up close to the camera so you can see how it's spelled. This is a little this is a little red algae. It's called astaxanthin. So you can see how it's spelled there. And it's a little red capsule, if you can see that tiny red capsule, okay? And I take a little knife or maybe a safety pin and stick it in the end of it, and I squirt it in my olive oil. Now you don't have to do this. This is not for kale chips necessarily. This is just a tip. And what this does is it turns your olive oil red, but the other thing that it does is it helps to keep your olive oil from spoiling. So as you see that red dissipate in your bottle of olive oil, you know that bottle of olive oil is going bad, because olive oil does go bad fairly quickly. So when I pour this over the kale chips, you might see that it's a little bit red. So what I'm going to do is just pour this, and I have my bowl of kale chips here, so I'm going to have to lift it up so you can see it.
Mom, should I hold that for you?
In just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to pour this, just a little bit of olive oil, and then I've already juiced about a half a lime. So if you're going to do a whole big bowl, probably a half a lime is fine. I actually do a bowl about twice this size with a half a lime. So I'm going to put the half of a lime juice in here that I already juiced. And then we're just going to mix this up with our fingers. Just turn it over and over. Kind of make sure all that's coated. It's going to float to the bottom of this bowl, and then as we turn it, it's going to coat the kale with the olive oil and the lime. Isn't this fun? We just like to play with your food. Be sure to play with your food. All right. So after we've got this done, I'm going to take a little bit of this spice and just show you. I just start sprinkling it on the top, like this. And then I'll mix it around, right? So it's kind of sprinkled.
Play with it again.
Play with it again. Yes, my daughter says, play with it again. Sprinkled on the top, then I turn it over a little bit. I sprinkle it again on the top. Pretty easy, right? This is like 10 minutes worth and you're done. It's so fun and so easy. All right, so now once you've got it coated and now it's sticking really well, I don't know if you can see that, but you've got this kale that's coated with all of these beautiful nuts and seeds and spices. And I'm just going to put it on a dehydrator tray. Now the reason why I'm using a dehydrator is I want to keep this below 105. However, I do have to say that if you don't have a dehydrator, you can do this in the oven. It won't take very long. Just keep your oven door propped open so it doesn't get too hot. If you keep it at 105 or below, it really maintains all of its enzymes and all those rich things that are in there that you want. The more you heat it up, the less you get of that. So I'm just going to take what's on my bowl and spread it out on my dehydrator sheet here. Now because I like a lot of spice, again, I'm a very savory person, I take my little bowl and I actually sprinkle it over one more time. Now, if I do this on my table, I'm going to get it all over, but I'll try. So when I do this on the kitchen table, my dehydrator tray has holes in it. So this is going to fall through to your table. And then I just scrape up whatever's left on the table and reuse that. Okay? So here we go. Here's a nice big dehydrator sheet full of kale. Now our challenge is getting this in the dehydrator, right? Because this is really puffy, if you can see how puffy that is. So you might have to, as you're putting it in the dehydrator, you might have to actually push down on the kale to kind of squish it in to the dehydrator tray. Now, if you don't have a dehydrator, but you love kale anyway, you can also just eat this as a salad. Makes a great salad dressing. And then what you'll do is you'll set your dehydrator for about 12 hours and just check it in 12 hours to see how it's doing. Set it at 105 if your dehydrator goes to that degree, and only 12 hours. Check it after 12 hours and see how you're doing. If you've got that nice crunch, you're done. If you don't, you might leave it in a little bit longer. So when it comes out of the dehydrator tray, you can see the difference. It's not going to be as fluffy. Here's ones that we've already done out of the dehydrator tray, but now they are very crunchy. Which is lovely. So if I do 2 or 3 big bowls, each big bowl usually gives me about a jar of the kale chips. Now when they're done, I keep my kale chips in a jar because I want to keep them nice and crisp. And the humidity will get to them if you leave them sit out, or even if you put them in a Ziploc baggie, sometimes they will get moist, or then they'll crumble, and then they're hard to eat when they crumble, right? So we want to put them in a jar so they stay sealed, they stay fresh, and they stay with the flavor that you want them to have. Now, what do you do if you have any extra spice? So this is what I do if I have extra spice and seeds left over that I'm not using. Again, on my last scope, as you know, I love these little Snapple size bottles. So I'll just take one of my little Snapple bottles. If I can open it up.
For Swan.
They have an S on them for Swan. That's right. And I just take a little funnel, and then I funnel all the rest of my spice and sesame and sunflower into here so that I can just grab it quick the next time I want to make kale chips. It's already mixed up. So I might do a double batch or a triple batch of this spice and seed mixture so that I can just have it. And as you can see from my last batch, I already had a full bottle of spices ready to go for the next one. All right. So any questions about kale chips? Nope, you're good. So these are a lovely snack. I have to say that one of the most challenging things for me when I was getting well was finding things that tasted good, that fulfilled that craving. And I particularly crave crunchy things, and I also crave savory things. So when you're wanting crunch and savory together, this is a great alternative for you to potato chips, etc. Baking at the lowest temp. Yes, so whatever the lowest temperature your oven goes on. Now, actually, my dehydrator broke last week, and so we did these for a couple of days, and they still weren't drying. So we did put them in the oven. My oven right now only goes down to 180. So we didn't put them in there for very long, and we cracked the door so that air would be coming out, because you want them at 105 if you can. Some of the newer ovens actually do go down that low. So if you can if your oven does go down that low, put them at 105 or less. It doesn't take very much heat to dry them out and crisp them very nicely. I wish you guys could taste these. Mwah! They're wonderful, delicious. This Russian mommy coming out, she likes these too. These are very good stuff. You must make these when you go home. Try, go by the store, get some kale, right? This is a good thing. Then make your family this wonderful healthy treat. They will be grateful and happy for you. They will like you very much. They will say, thank you, mommy, thank you, daddy. You're my favorite parent. So, okay, great. Well, this was a short one today. We wanted just to be sure to follow through because we did tell you that we were going to do this kale recipe. Does it have to be a single layer, or can you stack them on the sheet? Okay, you can. It needs to be a single layer if you can. You can kind of squish them in there because they will dehydrate down, but as much as you can, a single layer. Plus, as you're sprinkling them, you want to be sure that you get your spice on every piece because it's such a good spice. So I am honored that you joined us today. Thank you for tuning in with Sundays with Sonya, and we will be back next Sunday and maybe before with a new topic and something fun for you, either health-wise, network marketing-wise, or just life-wise. Thank you so much, and have a great night. See if I can get to my scope.
Hi. Mom, you told me I could,
Shh. Hello, I'm still here trying to figure this out. Annie, help me. My hands are oily. I can't stop it.
Down?
Yeah, there you go.